Hello everyone, how are you doing? I hope that you are doing so very well. Today we're going to talk about my top 5 books that take place outside of the United States. This video is being sponsored by Tor Books and is inspired by our Fiction Faction Book of the Month, American Drifter by Heather Graham and Chad Michael Murray. This book is about a US Army veteran named River, and he is experiencing a lot of PTSD and trauma coming back from being on duty, and so he escapes away to Rio de Janeiro, Brazil to try to overcome that and forget about all the hardships. While he's there, he meets a beautiful girl named Natal and they start falling in love, but the drug lord that runs a lot of Rio de Janeiro does not like that they are falling in love, and so he goes after them. River has to kill one of Tio's henchmen, and the pursuit gets even more deadly after that. As you can tell, this is a romantic thriller and it takes place completely in Brazil, and as I was reading this book and thinking about this book, I was like, wow, there are a lot of books that I like that take place outside of the United States, outside of what I know. So I want to talk to you guys about those. There are a lot of books that take place out of the United States that are magical in nature or that are fantasy, and that could count, but for this I did not pick any of those fantasy books. I did not pick Harry Potter, even though I know it takes place outside of the United States, because I have a lot of favorite magical books. Also, even though this is my top 5, I don't like ranking books, so they're not in any particular order, they're just my 5 favorite books that don't take place in the United States. First up is Love and Gelato by Jenna Evans Welch. This is about a girl named Lena, and after her mother dies, she goes to spend her summer in Tuscany with her dad that she has never met before. While she's there, she's given a journal of her mom's time there, and she kind of tries to figure out what her mom was like then, what she did while she spent time in Tuscany, while she tries to work through her mom's death, and why her mom sent her to Tuscany in the first place. This book was adorable and so cute. It is a contemporary. I had to have a contemporary in here, you know. There's a lot happening, and it just made me want to go to Italy, specifically Tuscany, like right now. As soon as I was done reading, I was like, I need to go there now. It's just really fun and lighthearted and super cute, and I love it. Next up is All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. This is about a girl named Marie-Laure who lives in France and a boy named Werner who lives in Germany. They are both living during the time of World War II. Marie lives in France and she is blind, but whenever the war comes, she has to go to a different town, a different city, and learn things all over again while being terrified of what could happen because of the war. Werner lives in Germany and he's ushered into the Hitler Youth and becomes part of the opposing force, but he's not really sure that that's what he wants for his life. This is just a very beautiful story, and how everything ties together is so gorgeous. And the cover, guys, like, the cover is beautiful. I love it so much. Next up is Big Little Lies by Leanne Moriarty. I actually don't own a physical copy of this book, but I love this book so much. I'm sure some of you have seen the HBO series. That actually takes place in California, but the book takes place in Australia, which I did not know going in, and then I listened to the audiobook and I was like, wait, all the accents are Australian, what's happening? This is kind of a murder mystery mixed with some playground politics, with moms whose stories all intersect in some way or another, and then some deeper things that are going on outside of their drama with their kids. How the story is told is really interesting because a murder happens at the beginning of the book, but you don't know anything about it, and interspersed throughout the story are the police interviews with people and them just saying different things and referring to different happenings, and that's the next section of the book usually that it goes into. I highly recommend the audiobook. I loved the audiobook so much, and the HBO series is really, really good as well. Next up is The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandra Dumas. I read this in high school and it has stuck with me ever since. I loved it so much. It was one of the only books I read for school that I loved, and I've been meaning to read the unabridged version. I'm gonna get there, I promise. But that doesn't mean that the abridged version can't be one of my favorites, because it is. This book is about Edmond Dantes, and on the day of his wedding he is accused of treason and he is imprisoned and exiled away from his home, but he didn't actually commit any crime. He was set up because somebody else wanted to marry his wife. After about 15 years of imprisonment, he escapes and he goes after all the people who set him up. He's hatched this huge, elaborate revenge plot over those years and he executes it perfectly. The Count of Monte Cristo is a classic for a reason. I know it's massive, but there's so much that happens in this book, and it takes place in France and in Italy and a lot of islands around the Mediterranean. Like I said, this book fascinated me when I was in high school, and I've been meaning to read the unabridged version, and honestly, after talking about it in this video, I'm like, do I want to read this next? I think so. Also, this beautiful cover is from Barnes & Noble. It's one of their classic editions, and it's gorgeous. Next up is Anne of Green Gables by Ellen Montgomery. me. If you didn't know, Anne of Green Gables takes place in Canada, good old Canada, and it is one of my all-time favorite books. Anne of Green Gables is about a girl named Anne, and she is adopted by Marilla and Matthew Cuthbert. They're a brother and sister, and they've never had kids, and they try to adopt a boy to help them on the farm, and instead they get Anne, but she brightens up their lives so much, and they decided to keep her. It's just about her growing up and her life all through when she's adopted by the Cuthberts at 11 to when she goes off to college, and it is so good and heartwarming and great and amazing. I love it so much. And last but not least is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. Who would I be if I didn't include Jane Eyre, because it is one of my favorite classics. It takes place in England, so not the United States. Jane Eyre is about a girl named Jane, and it follows her throughout her whole life, and most of the story takes place when she is a governess for this girl whose father is a little bit brooding, a little interesting, and maybe she's fallen in love with him, but he's got some dark secrets, some skeletons of his own. Like I said, this is one of my all-time favorite classics. I love it so much, and I had to pick between like this and any of Jane Austen's books, and it was just really hard because I was trying to just pick one from England, but I had to go with my girl Jane. I also have an honorable mention book that I really like, but half of the book takes place in the United States, so I was like, I can't really include it, but I want to talk about it. And that is The Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini. Half of this book takes place in Afghanistan, but then the other half takes place in the United States and really details a lot of refugee life. This book is about a boy named Amir, and his dad is very wealthy, and he grows up in Afghanistan in that wealth. He has a best friend named Hassan, and they do everything together, but he starts to resent Hassan because he feels like his dad loves him more, even though Hassan is their servant son. They have a lot of things that they go through while they're in Afghanistan, but then the Taliban comes and takes over Afghanistan, and Amir and his dad have to flee the country and leave Hassan behind, even though some stuff happened with Amir and Hassan, and Amir is still carrying that. When Amir is older and grown up, he travels back to Afghanistan to try to right those wrongs and to fulfill some promises he made. It's just about his journey as a character and how he changes and grows amidst the political tension of Afghanistan. And it's so good, so powerful, so important, and I highly recommend it. And that's it. Those are the books. Thanks again to Tor for sponsoring this video. Don't forget to get this book so you can talk about it with me and Fiction Faction at our live show. I'll leave all the information for everything you need to know down below. Let me know down below what some of your favorite books are that take place out of your home country. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye. I'm sure maybe.